All right, before we get to your wheelhouse, I got to ask about wide receiver. People love watching wide receivers play. They're the freak athletes on the field. Marvin Harrison Jr. Has been generally considered to be the guy at that position, but there are some folks out there that like another guy or two to possibly be better. What's your evaluation at that position? And I'm always going to ask you for a wild card outlier guy that you like.
So Marv is wide receiver one. Like from a draft eval standpoint, from a if I were running an NFL team standpoint, Marv's the guy that you bet on 10 times out of 10. But I do like Malik Neighbors' tape a little better. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think he's a good route runner. I don't think he's as clean in his releases. I don't really care. I think Malik Neighbors has that juice to be just to he does some fun things, man. It's his speed is different. It's like he can cut and not lose a split second of speed, where it's just different when the ball's in his hands. And I think he's going to be a little bit more limited as far as the role he has to play than Marv. Because Marv, I think he can play the X. I think he can go down the slot. He's probably not your Z, but it's hard to find the X anyways. I think at least looking at this draft class, it's a lot harder to find the X. But Malik Neighbors, I just think he's that game-changing talent for you who can really be kind of like I was saying with Jalen Wright, just that explosive threat any given moment. Now, Marv is still wide receiver one because he's safer. He's just the safer prospect. Exactly what you're getting with Marv. And I feel like he might be one of the most sure things to come out of the draft in I don't know how many years, maybe the last 5 years. Like, as far as what you're getting, he is such a clean release package, such a clean route runner, good at the catch point, great athlete, great size. But there's just something constantly pulling at me about Neighbors where I'm like, but he's so good. So to me, Marv is still one. I don't think you're going to see many NFL GMs take that chance to say we're going to go with the wild card here, even though we have a sure thing on the board in Marv. But Neighbors, I do understand why some people like him more than Marv, and I get it, but I can't actually bring myself to that point because of the safety of Marvin Harrison just being. I think he's going to walk in the league being a really darn good football player. Now, as far as a guy a little further down the board, I mean, so after him, I got Romo Dunze, I got A.D. Mitchell, Brian Thomas, and Lad McConkey in some order. Usually, I think I have A.D., then Lad, then Brian Thomas, which is probably a little different than some other people, but I think I did not realize Lad's injury concerns when I made that board. Now I'd probably put Lad a little lower, but just because he did have some back injuries, and back injuries are always scary. But Brian Thomas Jr. probably belongs ahead of him after you consider the injury, just because the sky's the limit for that kid. He just needs to learn how to play the position some more and learn some release packages, some route running details. But size, speed, weight type stuff, he's outstanding. Now, if we're talking more sleepers, though, a guy like a Malik Washington out of Virginia is really interesting. He graduated from Northwestern, transferred to Virginia last year, walked into Virginia, became their offense, right? He touched the ball more than anyone. He led them in yards, he led them in targets. He walked into a brand new offense, no chemistry with anyone, and became the guy over there. Might be limited to a slot role because of his size, a little smaller, but he's a gamer and he has good athleticism, good quickness. Like, he can really be shifty out there. And as long as you can either get him in the slot or scheme him up some free releases, because I do think he's going to struggle with press coverage, but you get him those free releases and in the slot, I think you'll be able to do that as well. I think he can be a really nice football player for someone. And I believe you might fact check me on this if you're listening, but I believe he's a punt returner as well and played multiple special teams roles in his career.
Folks, switching gears here real quick. Keep in mind, every Monday through Friday, we're going live during the transfer portal window with a live update every day at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll be back here live at 3 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday.